Well, the hallways of Capitol Hill emptying out again as Congress heads home to ask you to send them back for yet another term. But a trend appears to be surfacing right now. Democrats on the campaign trail keeping their distance from a certain someone by the name of President Barack Obama. So does this tell us something about the midterm election? We're joined now by Angela McGlowan, Fox News political analyst, and Ben Wikler, Washington director of MoveOn.org and talk radio host. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Kelly.
You know, Ben and Angela, we're looking at this midterm, and usually people would rally around President Obama if you go back a couple of years ago, even when Democrats were pushing through that Affordable Health Care Act. Right now, it appears that a lot of Democrats are saying, persona non grata, let's keep the president right there in Washington. Let's not bring him back to our constituents. Why, Ben? Why?
Well, Kelly, thanks for having me on. Angela, it's great to see you.
You
I think
too.
No matter what party you're in, you'd have to be crazy to not run against Washington right now. However you feel about the president, and I should say grassroots Democratic voters actually support the president still in high numbers, but however you feel about the president, he's not on the ballot this time. It's Congress. And Congress's approval ratings are 14%. That's just a smidgen higher than Ebola.
Oh, geez.
That's pretty good, Ben. Angela,
Yeah,
can you top that?
I don't think so, Kelly, but Ben, senatorial Democrats that are running for re-election, they didn't get that memo that grassroots Democrats really support this president. They're running away from the president like the plague. If you look in 2009, Kelly, Democrats were euphoric about President Barack Obama. On the Congressional House floor, they mentioned his name and his initiatives over 200 times. But now they don't even want to be seen with him on the campaign trail. And also Cummings, Clyburn, and Lewis, Congressional Black Caucus members, they're actually going to red states, actually campaigning for the president for senatorial Democrats. So that's the problem.
Well, again, and Ben, I asked a question. I loved your answer. It was very entertaining. But again, let's get to the nucleus of this. What is the bottom line? Why is the president's, what if factor factoring so badly for Democrats?
So in a midterm election like this, the number one question is who comes out to the polls. MoveOn.org has been doing its own polling. I'm sure the Democrats have their own. And what we've been finding is that the thing that motivates potential voters for this fall actually isn't to vote for or against the president. The number one thing is to avoid a Senate takeover by Republicans and see what we saw in the House, which is votes against birth control and holding down the minimum wage.
Spin it like you want to, Ben. The fact is, incumbents cannot run away from their voting record. And you and I can agree that Democrats in the House and the Senate voted for President Obama's initiatives lock in step. The Affordable Care Act, the failed policies dealing with the stimulus packages, on and on and on, and they can't run away from that.
All right, let's get away from the spin zone right now. The spin stops here, as a great colleague of mine says. So let's go right to the numbers in terms of how many times the president has been mentioned. Can we bring that up real quick, that chart? 92 times Republicans have mentioned President Barack Obama compared to just 39 times by Democrats. Now, this is a rock star in the Democratic circles heretofore, but right now, his luster's wearing off. Ben, what's the deal?
Well, let me ask you, if you were running
for the Senate
in Arkansas, let's say you're running for the Senate in Arkansas, voted overwhelmingly against President Obama.
You're spinning me, man.
No, listen. If you're in a state that did not vote for President Obama in 2012, you're not going to run your campaign as a vote for me as a vote for Obama. You're going to run it on the substance. And
but as your colleague Angela McGlowan just mentioned, you've got Democrats going to those red states. That's something the president would have boldly done and would have had audacity to do, as a matter of fact, last year and even the year before that. Angela?
Yeah, I mean, and you're talking about the red states, Ben, Arkansas, Louisiana. Look at Colorado. Udall is down in the polls. And also, even with the gubernatorial race, the governor there might not win re-election, his re-election bid, because the president is so unpopular. But, Kelly, I can give President Obama this. He can raise the heck out of some money.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because, look, listen to this. The Republican National Committee says it has raised more than $10 million last month alone. Month alone. And again, bested the Democratic National Committee, the Democrats not raising nearly that amount, raising something like $7 million.
Kelly, if I could jump in here.
Sure,
I think
Ben,
this goes to the essential confusion of this whole question. This is not a presidential year, and this is a congressional year. If you look at the Democratic and Republican Senate committees and House committees, Democrats are outraising them on both fronts.
But Ben,
this
you
is
said
about House and Senate candidates,
question.
and the way that they're outraising them is through grassroots donations that are all about a Republican takeover of the Senate. That is what's on the ballot.
Okay, I get it.
That's what
what's on the
Democrats
ballot.
are campaigning on,
But there is such a
sense.
thing as presidential coattails, my friend.
Yep.
So what's happening with the presidential coattails, since I'm asking such a foolish question?
Look, the president's approval ratings, like second-term presidents for the last 40 or so years, are not as high as they were before. The president's about 41%. The question is, will voters see this election as a referendum on President Obama, or will they see it as a referendum on Congress? And for Democrats, we think this should be a referendum on Congress, whether you like what you've been seeing from the House of Representatives or not, whether you want more of that from the Senate.
And Angela, will give you the final word here.
Yes, in 2010, it was a referendum against the Affordable Care Act. That's when the Republicans took over the House. Now it's going to be a referendum against Obama's failed policies, and Republicans will retain the House and take over the Senate, my friend. Face the facts.
Well, those are interesting facts. So, Ben and Angela, we thank you both for joining us.